Yo, what is up guys? It's the Goblin and welcome back to another Call of Duty Modern Warfare tips and tricks video. Tonight's video is going to be episode 4 of my How to Improve at Modern Warfare series, and in this video we're going to be focusing specifically on gunfights and the gunplay in this game, how to win more gunfights and be able to beat your enemy sort of in a gunfight where it's a one-on-one engagement, right? A lot of the time in Call of Duty, especially in a game like this or in any Call of Duty game, you want to be shooting people in the side, shooting people in the back as they're running, to objectives or they're running the other way. That means you have good positioning. Of course, you'd rather be able to shoot every player without them shooting back at you, but of course you're going to have to get in these scenarios where it's going to be a straight up one-on-one gunfight, and in those scenarios it's going to come down to a lot of things, and there's a lot of different tips that can help improve and make you come out on the upper hand, being alive after that gunfight a higher percentage of the time than your enemy. I hope you guys will enjoy this video. If you could drop a like on this thing, let's go ahead and go for 862 likes. That would be incredible if we could hit that. Also, shout out to everyone new, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Shout out to everyone new that is already subscribing and everyone dropping those likes. I really do appreciate it. I know it only takes a millisecond, so thank you to everyone for supporting the video so much. Smack that like button and let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, first of all, what is a gunfight? So I sort of explained it right there. It's basically where the enemy is going to put a bullet into you. Now, you want to try to avoid gunfights for the most part, and like I said, if your positioning is perfect, you want to be shooting people in the side mainly or in the back, because that's the ideal way to play Call of Duty, right? But when you're facing these one-on-one gunfights, perhaps you're going for an objective, perhaps the enemy catches you out, or you might just be at a choke point or pushing up a spot on the map where you have to take a straight up gunfight. And in this game, the gunfights are very, very different, and it's quite a huge adjustment, especially because we're coming off of Black Ops 4, which had one of the slowest time to kills in Call of Duty because of the fact that you went up to 150 health. All of the other Call of Duty games were 100 health, then you have Black Ops 4 at 150 health, right? And now we go back to a 100 health game where it's a really, really fast time to kill. It reminds me a lot, I would say this game is similar to Call of Duty Ghosts, where a couple bullets and boom, the enemies are dead. But that's good when you're shooting the enemies, but it's also bad because that means you're gonna die very, very quick. For the main part in this game, it's, in a game like Black Ops 4, it wasn't always necessary that the first shot would win the gunfight. Even in other games like Black Ops 3 or Infinite Warfare, where if you get shot, you can start jumping around, flying around, and making the enemy miss shots. In Black Ops 4, you can sort of duck around the corner, use a stim shot to heal, or if you get down to like 30 health, stim shot right back up to 150, pop out and take out your enemy. This game is a lot more different in a way that the time to kill is so fast. If you get caught out, the majority of the time, whoever gets the first shot on the other player is going to win that gunfight. And if you're getting the first shot and losing the gunfights, that means that could mean a couple things. Either you're using a really, really bad weapon for that scenario or gunfight that you're going into, or maybe you're just hitting that first shot and then missing the rest of your shots. That is more of a rare situation that shouldn't be happening as much. So when it comes down to adjustments, since the majority of the community is coming off of playing Black Ops 4 for a year, coming into Modern Warfare, the first thing you need to focus on in these gunfights is understanding that this game is completely different and the time to kill is super duper quick. And this changes pretty much a lot of things with your playstyle, mainly in terms of risk peeking. Now, what I mean by risk peeking is when you see a player, you want to sort of peek out, get some shots into them, and then see if they hit you back, you want to get out of there immediately. Now, that was something that was super duper useful in Black Ops 4. In this game, I've pulled it off a couple times, but for the most part, you're just going to die if you peek something. You don't really have time to risk peek and then duck back down, so you sort of have to fully commit and be confident with your decisions in this game and just hold that trigger down and hope that your bullets can take out the enemy faster than they can take out you. And that's why you need to be set up for these gunfights, and we're going to cover what you can use with your perks, your attachments, different lengths of gunfights, as well as actual tips for whether you want a jump shot or a drop shot. So when it comes down to this game, there's so many different weapons and ranges in this game because of the fact that you could be playing ground war on a super duper big map, or you could be playing a 6v6 or even a gunfight 2v2 mode. So when it comes down to winning gunfights, a lot of it revolves around your weapon that you're picking in this game, but more specifically your attachments and perks, especially the attachments you're going with on a weapon. So for example, of course we all know what the really good weapons are in this game, the Kilo, the M4, some of the SMGs are decent as well, but for the most part when these gunfights are at range, it's going to be sticking with an AR, especially in a fast time to kill game like this. ARs usually dominate a game like this, It's kind of because of the time to kill, also because of the map size, for the reason that if you're at distance with an SMG, the damage fall off, and I'm not talking a super duper long distance, the damage fall off happens very, very quick with almost all of the SMGs. You're not going to be able to challenge at all against any AR, when on the other hand, ARs can still, you might have some slowdowns because of how you set up your attachments, but you can still have a chance to win those gunfights because the fire rates are fairly good. So when it comes to winning fights, the main thing I would say is when you're going into a map or a mode, when you're making your class setup and having those attachments around it, make sure you when you think about it, what gunfights are you going to be taking on, and what is your typical gunfight going to be? So for example, if I'm playing on a Gronza raid and I'm playing a 10v10 domination and I'm playing in that upper middle building, most of my gunfights are going to be up close or medium range when I'm peeking out a window. So I'm probably going to go with an assault rifle, but I'm probably going to go with it with attachments that sort of help me speed up. Not necessarily things that might help my damage at range as much, but more sprint to fire speed, more, aim down sights quicker, sprint to fire speed, aim down sights quicker, strafing movement speed, all of those sort of things to speed up my weapon, because those are huge aspects when I'm taking on gunfights like that. However, if I'm playing on a map like Ground War, and of course it's not necessarily just the map that you're playing on or the mode, it's also the fact of how you play it. If I'm going to play on Ground War and sit on a roof and try to pick people off, that's where you might want to go with something more of like a red dot, and you might want to give up on all those quick draw things and go with more damage at range, stuff that's going to help you to out damage your enemy instead of outspeed and get your gun up quicker. Most of the time when it comes down to those close range gunfights, it's about who gets that first shot off, and at a distance it is about that as well, but at a distance it's a lot harder to hit shots, and it comes down to more who is the better player with accuracy a lot of the time. Sometimes people can just get lucky with it. The other thing I would say is whenever you see that white flash from a sniper at a distance, usually that's a sign to probably not peek that player unless you know that sniper is a pretty trash player, you're feeling confident for some reason. Whenever you see that white flash from a distance, which happens a lot on Ground War 10v10, there's a lot of people like to sit back and snipe in this game. That's usually when you want to duck out and not really take on those gunfights, because of course they are playing that to their advantage, right? A sniper wants to sit back and wants to take that gunfight with you. You want to of course get up close and personal with the sniper to where you would have the advantage. So when it comes to the attachments and around your weapon, definitely it goes with the weapon, but it goes with the map and the mode that you're playing on. Think when you go into something, okay, Hackney or TDM, the majority of my gunfights here are going to be medium range, and then you pick that medium range weapon with a fast time to kill, and you might want to speed it up a little bit. If you're taking on, a much bigger mode, of course you're going to have to change that up completely. Next, when it comes down to, we covered some of the attachments that are important. Aiming down sights quicker, sprint to fire speed is so important to have as an attachment if you're trying to win gunfights in this game, because of the fact that the sprint to fire speed typically is kind of slow, and a lot of the times if you have that, it just gives you that instant advantage over your enemy where it can make a world of difference. That's one benefit to the SMGs. If you deck them out with fast stuff, you're pretty much gonna get your gun up quicker than all of those assault rifles up close. So even though they have a really fast fire rate and fast time to kill, it won't really matter if they can't get that gun up by the time you're literally killing them. They might only have time to get a bullet or two into you. When it comes down to perks, what sort of perks, because we just talked about attachments, what perks will help you win gunfights? Now, there's a couple things. Quick fix in the first perk slot is very helpful. Now, I usually say you want to either take quick fix or they stim shot. Now, this is not on every single class setup. Of course, some class setups you want to take neither of these, but if you're playing fast-paced action on a smaller map, quick fix is amazing in that first perk slot. You do have to give up your flak jacket EOD, which is usually what I'll use in that first perk slot, but it is nice because whenever you get a kill, then your health regen is 3 seconds faster, which makes a world of difference. Like I said, because the time to kill in this game is so fast, if you're damaged at all, even if it's just one bullet, you are practically one shot. And that's another thing with taking on gunfights. Never go into a gunfight in this game without being full health. It's not like other games where, hey, okay, I'm 80 health, I can probably take on this gunfight. They will absolutely melt you. You want to make sure you're back up to full health, and that's why I think quick fix is very helpful for that, as well as the stim shot. Now, the stim shot is a little bit more strategic and takes a lot of getting used to in this game, especially if you're coming from using the Black Ops 4 stim shot, where it's kind of just every time you get shot, it's just an instant reaction to pop that. In this game, you have to be more selective because it's a lot slower. It doesn't work, it's basically just a lot slower in general in terms of the heal time, in terms of how the animation, all that sort of stuff. It still is great and can help you outsmart some players and win gunfights where they think they have you fully damaged. You use that, heal it up for a second, and then challenge them again around, a corner, maybe leaning around a corner on a head glitch or something, because they won't really expect it. Everyone expected stim shot in Black Ops 4. In this game, it is not nearly as expected, and that's a great thing that can help you healing up. Next thing for winning gunfights that can be very, very helpful is a perk 2 slot, High Alert. High Alert is very good in that perk 2 slot because it basically alerts you. Your screen will flash red when someone has you in their vision. Now, this can sort of make you panic, but it can make you want to duck for cover or look around to see where that fight is to try to challenge it. This is good because in a game where you die so fast, getting any sort of warning, even if it's just, 5 extra milliseconds on that, can save your life sometimes, and I think that is a perk 2 that is very helpful for winning gunfights. So we talked about some attachments, we talked about what you want to focus on different maps, and how you have to play a little bit safer in this game when you're challenging your one-on-one gunfights. Now, when you're actually in a scenario where it's you staring straight at the enemy, what are some tactics you can do? The main 2 tactics it comes down to, or 3 tactics, are either going to be strafing, jump shotting, and drop shotting. Now, strafing is fairly effective, especially because you can deck out your attachments with increasing your aim walking movement speed. Now, a lot of attachments take away from this, and I try to stay away from those personally, especially on something like an assault rifle. Even with the stock in this game, it still feels like the strafe speed is not that fast, and if you don't have stock, and especially if you're doubling down into not having it and also having something that slows that aim walking movement speed, you're kind of going to be like a scarecrow, and you're strafing side to side where you're sort of strafing with the left thumbstick as you're aiming with the right thumbstick, making the enemy miss bullets as you're hitting bullets. That is a very effective strategy on something like an SMG or an assault rifle where you do have that stock. When it comes down to other stuff you can do, it either will go to drop shotting or jump shotting. Now, honestly, in this game, usually in other games, it's very self-explanatory. A game like Modern Warfare 3, that was a straight-up drop shotting game. A game like Black Ops 2 was a straight-up jump shotting game. But honestly, in this game, it is kind of up in the air. Honestly, I think both of them are kind of effective. Drop shotting can be really good in this game. However, you do have to watch out for, of course, it does expose your head where players can get sort of, I guess you could say, accurate but mainly lucky headshots on you. Jump shotting is the main one that's been in Call of Duty for the last couple of years that people have been using, and it's still something that is very effective. If you're coming around a corner in this game, especially when you have that slower strafing speeds, you want to be jumping around that corner and jumping and sort of prematurely spraying as you're jumping, because that's a way that you can get that first shot off. This is a game where you have ARs with extended mags where you might have 60 bullets. Don't be afraid to spray people down, and don't be afraid to pre-fire. Every bullet matters in a game where you die so fast. Pre-firing people on head glitches makes all the difference, and a lot of players that are worried about their accuracy, that's really not the way that you want to do it, because of the fact that you can hear people when they're coming. The footsteps in this game are so loud. You will have sort of preemptive. It's almost like when you're playing a private match with your friend and it's radar always on, you guys know where each other are at. It kind of does feel like that in this game, in those close to medium range gunfights, because you can pretty much hear your enemies for the most part, and the enemies can pretty much hear you. So you need to keep that in mind, and also, when you're going into gunfights like that, definitely keep that in mind, that these people might know that I'm coming for them. Definitely they will. If you're in a building, you can sort of hear, if you hear the footsteps and then you hear the footsteps stop, that player is probably stopped because they've heard you run into the building and they're waiting on you. So you want to sort of use that sound to figure out where they are, and then probably jump shot around that corner to surprise them and take on that straight on gunfight. Another thing that I use is a SCUF controller. I honestly think SCUF controllers are super duper useful. I'm sponsored by them, but I've been using them since way before I was sponsored, since like 2012, I think, Modern Warfare 3. Basically, SCUF allows you to have 2 paddles on the back on my PS4 controller. So the left paddle allows me to jump, and the right paddle allows me to punch the enemy players. And the left paddle is really the main focus, because it allows you to jump by using one of my fingers on my left ring finger, I think it is what I use for the paddle. Some people use their middle fingers for the paddles. For the right one, I use my middle finger. For the left one, I use my ring finger. But basically, it allows you, when you're not moving the thumb over to the X button, or you're not moving the thumb over to the A button on Xbox to jump, you're able to jump with that back paddle while keeping both of your thumbs on the thumbsticks, which is super duper important for keeping accurate while jump shotting. And of course, that is the key to winning these gunfights. It's the same thing when it comes down to strafing, drop shotting, and jump shotting. The key is to try to make yourself a harder target for the enemy enemy to hit, while also be able to still hit your shots and, you know, be on target and accurate with your shots on the enemy. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Hopefully this did help you guys out on winning gunfights. Like I said, in this game, the gunfights are kind of tough because they are really fast time to kill. So it does really come down to making sure everything is in sync with that setup, making sure you have the right idea. You know, you're listening for enemies. You know preemptively that, hey, they might expect you just like you're expecting the enemies, and being able to take on those fights is very important. Another thing I would say for winning gunfights, if enemies are on head glitches quite a bit, FMJ can be fairly effective as far as a weapon perk. It's available under the attachments, but it's called in the weapon perk category under the attachments. I know that is kind of confusing, but because there's so many different head glitches where it's just you can literally only see these people's hairlines because the head glitch is so nasty, having something like an FMJ where you can kind of not worry so much about spraying through some rubble or whatever can be very helpful. Anyway, hope you guys did enjoy it. Drop a like, subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one, and thanks for watching, and I'm out. Peace.